Welcome to the Massacre Matinee.
Are you ready for the podcast, Kate?
I'm ready for the podcast.
Okay, cool. Let's
So-
podcast.
We're recording. We record this earlier in the day.
Normally we do, but we got tattoos.
We bonded over tattoos.
We did.
Ghost Bros.
Ghost Bros.
So, I don't know, like, how this case is gonna go, because this case is another survival story, because, you know, I love watching those, like, I survived, like, shows and everything like that. Well, this one's I survived a serial killer. So that's where I got all of this information from, and Teddy was absolutely upset with me because he was also watching it with me, and I paused it like every 5 minutes to take down notes for 5 minutes, and then I'd play it. So a 30-minute episode was like an hour and a half long of me just taking it.
Yeah,
Taking
so
notes.
we're gonna have the Pizza Bomber episode coming up, and Drew watched that documentary with me, and he got upset that I wasn't taking notes. And I was trying to explain to him that I didn't want to have to pause it every 5 minutes because you had already told me about you and Teddy watching documentaries and things.
So he can't watch them with me anymore. So that's great. I don't mind. It just means that I can pop in like headphones and everything like that and do the recording. This one is a little close to home, and by close to home, I mean it's downstate.
Okay,
It's in Michigan.
downstate Michigan.
Downstate Michigan, the Lower Peninsula, because
Peninsula. The trolls, as Drew
Trolls.
says from the
I
other
am a
room.
transplant and troll. Okay, so
I am not a troll, but I am a transplant. And if you
Oh.
don't understand, a troll is anybody from below the bridge in
below the
downstate,
Mackinac Bridge.
and anybody that just was not born in the Upper Peninsula is a transplant. So if you are from downstate and a transplant, you are a transplanted troll.
Yeah.
Makes me think of those troll dolls from like the 90s.
It's so funny when we were talking about like how our hair looks in the morning, and just
Yeah.
it was
It
me when I
fits,
had the
it
colorful
fits.
hair.
So what's today's survivor story about
So
from
this
downstate?
is the story about Lisa Gilbert Asher and her brother. He kind of comes in a little bit later. This happened in Lansing, Michigan, so the capital. This was in the 70s, but it was like 1978, so kind of close to the 80s. Lisa at this time was only 14. Her brother Randy was playing out back, and she was kind of watching him because I believe he was a couple years younger than her. And this was also the 70s where they just kind of let kids be by themselves.
Kids did whatever in the 70s.
I believe both parents were at work.
Okay.
And she was supposed to call in to her stepmom because her stepmom was like, okay, like, hey, just call in to make sure everything's okay, nothing's wrong in the house, or if you have any questions about anything, just like check in with me at 3:00. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go get Randy because it's like time to do the call check-in. She likes to talk to both of us, so I'm gonna go get him. So she goes out into the yard and realized there's a tan car like parked in her driveway, and she's kind of confused because like no one was supposed to show up. There wasn't supposed to be anyone there, but she's like, okay, you know, maybe like it's just a salesman or something like that.
I suppose traveling salesman was a lot more of a thing then than it is now.
So she realized that the car is empty because she had like walked a ways to go get her brother because her brother was like in the like way backyard. And
Okay.
she like went around the house because I don't think they had a back door.
Okay.
So she like starts going back to the house. She sees that the car is empty. She turns to go towards the front door, or like I'm assuming that they had a door that was like towards the garage, and then like one that was like to the main house.
Okay.
And there was a man standing in the doorway and was like starting to try to go into her house, and she's like, hey,
What the hell are you doing,
what
buddy?
are you doing? And the man's like, oh, hey, like, is your dad here? And she's like, well, no, he's at work. And the man's like, oh, well, like, do you have a number to get a hold of your dad? She's like, okay, so maybe this is like someone my dad needed to do business with or something like that. So she's like, okay, you know what? Let me go get a pencil and paper from the kitchen and I'll write down the number to get a hold of him. So she turns her back to this dude and like starts walking into the house. And that's when the man like comes up behind her and like puts her into a chokehold.
Vicious.
Yeah. And like she's only 14 at this time too. And I think from what she described, she's a shorter girl. So it's just like, ooh, it's terrifying to have like someone who's taller like come up right behind you and just like.
As a small person, I can say that I've actually got a little bit of a fear of excessively tall people just because I know how easy it would be for someone to like overpower me.
I don't like the fact that I have to look up to some people to talk to them.
Right.
But also, I don't want to be looking inside your nose.
You know, that makes me think of school, but that's another story.
That's another trauma.
I was a short kid in school. Looked up so many noses.
So his left arm's around her neck, and then with his right arm to her throat, he has a knife.
Ooh.
And he tells her not to scream, and if she doesn't scream and just kind of follows along, everything will be okay, and he's not going to hurt her. So, to add some backstory, because they kind of like jumped around and everything like that, before this attack happened, about 20 months before Lisa was attacked, a woman had come up missing from her home. Her name was Martha Sue Young. The last person to see her was her ex-fiance, so he kind of became a person of interest in her disappearance, but then they kind of were like, okay, that's not really, we can't find any leads. And then January 1st, 1977 is when Martha went missing. I don't know why I wrote two different dates for Martha going missing. And
just to confuse yourself for funsies.
And then June 27th, 1978, a farmer found the remains of a young woman. The remains turned out to be also Martha. So he had a thing for Marthas. People named Martha.
So it was all about, but it wasn't the same Martha?
No, because the first one was Martha Sue Young, and then another one was Martha Choquette.
I like to see your notes.
Choquette. I had highlighted this. I also think I did these notes when I was really tired. And
you probably were.
And I'm also currently really tired.
Maybe Choquette?
Choquette? Choquette kind of seems.
Martha Choquette. It looks kind of
French, kind of like
Frenchy.
Yeah. And they did an autopsy and found that she had been stabbed 17 times. Another woman named Wendy Bush and then another woman named Christine Stewart were also missing at this time. All from the same area.
All around Lansing?
All around Lansing.
Okay.
And kind of that county more so than the city itself, because I think this was a suburb of Lansing.
Okay.
That had happened.
The local Lansing area.
So then back to Lisa's story. He takes her into her parents' bedroom because it was just the closest one that he could see, and told her to lay down on the floor face down. And then he started digging around in the dresser and found a pair of her mom's knee-high socks, and then shoved those into her mouth so she couldn't scream.
Oh, better her mom's than her dad's, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Put her...
Did you just realize what I said?
I just realized what you said. He then put her hands behind her back and then tied them with another pair of socks.
Okay.
And then, trigger warning, he then took off her clothes and then raped her. She was so shocked. She couldn't even fight back because she was just I don't know what to do, because she's a 14-year-old at this point. Who even knows if she knows what is actually happening to her?
And honestly, back in the 70s when kids were 14, sex was not necessarily on their mind.
It was so taboo back then. You don't talk about it.
Right.
After, he got done raping her, he tied up her feet and then took off the belt. She was wearing a pair of jean shorts and she had a belt on, took that off of her, and then started to strangle her with it. The belt broke from how hard he was trying to strangle her. Like, it snapped in
Like,
half.
just, wow.
It was a leather belt, and he snapped it in half. So after the belt broke, he was just like, all right, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to use my hands, the good old-fashioned way.
The good old-fashioned way.
He strangled her so hard that he broke all the blood vessels in her eyes. So her eyes were completely bloodshot red. She thought she was going to die, but then she heard that the back door was opening. So it was the back. Oh, never mind. I had this backwards. So it was a back door leading through the garage. So you had to go through the garage to go into, I think it went into the main kitchen. And she had found the dude at that,
so it was probably like a ranch-style house or something. I've had a house like that.
So she heard the door open, and, obviously the guy heard the door open, too. So he stops. And he left her alone, and she's so thankful that it was her brother who came through that door, because literally a little bit longer she thinks she would have been dead.
Oh, probably.
Randy was only 13. Okay, so there's a year difference. I wonder if Randy is a stepbrother, because that kind of sounds like Irish twins kind of thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. They never really specified.
It depends. I mean, me and my younger sibling are only a year apart.
Oh, I guess Irish twins is only when there's a couple months. A few months apart. I don't know.
Don't know. This is the first time I've ever heard the term.
Irish twins is when you're really, really close to each other in age, but you're not actually twins.
Oh, okay.
And your siblings and all that. So now it kind of switches over to Randy's story in the episode. He'd been playing around by the pond in the backyard, and he kind of had the feeling, he's like, you know what? I feel like I really need to go home. I should go home right now, because I think he had
and
told
his
sister
sister had been going to get him, wasn't she?
Yeah, and then she saw that the man was there.
Okay.
And he when he went in, he was just like, this house is really quiet. Did Lisa leave? Did she go out with friends? Because he couldn't hear anything. And usually, I guess Lisa was always kind of a busybody, so she's always kind of
there was always something going on.
There's always noise in the house. And at that point, Randy saw that a man was leaving his parents' room and trying to hide whatever was in the room and close the door behind him. The man asked Randy how he was doing. Just trying to make small talk, and before Randy could even answer,
hey there, sport, what's up to feller?
But before he could even answer, he's lunging at Randy to try to get him. That was probably a Mike peek, but
no witnesses.
Yeah, he's literally lunging at Randy and putting this knife towards Randy's throat and everything like that. And he was just like, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. But he just lunged at him with the knife in his hand.
He said this. He said the same thing to Lisa.
Yeah,
before
what is
he
up with
raped
people
her,
being like, I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm going to kind of come at you in a threatening way.
That is,
you're not convincing.
Yeah.
Stereotypical, you're not convincing.
Well, I mean, not every serial killer is Ted Bundy. They can't all be suave.
No.
And Ted Bundy had that charm that kind of lured people in. I mean,
see, that's the thing with this dude. They kind of called him the Michigan Ted Bundy kind of thing.
Really?
So he's because he wasn't a bad looking guy. And that's kind of how he would lure the women in. He'd just be like, hey, I'm just... He had a similar MO other than, the actual, getting the victims versus,
Okay.
I don't think he went as far as to be like, I'm going to go to the beach and my arm is broken. Can you help me find my dog?
He wasn't trying as hard, I guess.
No. I feel I don't know, because this is... trying to think of when Bundy was happening. Wasn't this it was after Bundy, I think. Bundy was what?
I'm not sure if it was after Bundy. I don't know. I don't remember, I should say, offhand, what era Bundy was. But I know Bundy was a lot more 70s. Televised. Anywho, back to the story.
Anyway. So he, lunges at him with the knife, and he took Randy upstairs this time. He didn't take him into the same room with each other. He was just like, all right, fuck this. Goes into the room. But at the top of the stairs, Randy's like, you know what, I'm gonna fight back. Fuck this. And starts squirming and trying to, be able to get free.
And he's only 13, so he's probably not that big either.
And the dude just slams him onto the floor.
Oof.
Sits on his back and then just started like sawing his neck. Like not even like stabbing, just sawing his neck.
Wow.
And Randy's still trying to fight back while his neck is getting sawed.
Right. I mean, I'd think anybody would.
He was actually able to knock the knife out of the dude's hand and grab it himself. And he, like, I don't know why he didn't try to, like, stab the dude himself, but he, like, threw it as far away as possible across the room as he could.
Well, he was probably thinking, if the knife's not near me, then I can't get hurt with it anymore, kind of thing.
So then the man's like, okay, you know what? You took away my weapon. I'm just going to try to strangle you after already, cutting into his neck.
Right.
Which, to me, feels like this is probably also a little bit of what helped save his life, because you're putting pressure on the wound.
Right.
At this point, Lisa hears the struggle. She's like back out of consciousness because she
probably passed out a little bit because she was getting strangled until Randy got home,
and here's Randy just like going ballistic. So she's still tied up, her hands and feet, she's gagged,
and she's still naked, I'm sure, and everything, because I mean, why would
naked
he
from the waist down?
Yeah.
And everything like that. She hears him scream. She somehow gets her feet untied and her hands untied. She's still, fully naked. I guess she didn't. I thought she did take off her shirt. Oh, never mind. She only got her feet untied and she was still fully naked and had her hands bound behind her back. And she's just like, the best bet is to go get help. And she runs out into the street like that.
Buck naked and tied up. I mean, that's a good way to get attention and get someone to help you. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Slightly off topic, but I always had this thought that if somebody broke into the house and I was in the shower or something, that I would just honestly try and just attack the shit out of them naked, because they're going to be so shocked by the fact that they're getting attacked by a naked person that they might hesitate long enough for me to be able to get away.
Reminds me of a story that said, like, Tommy says that he wants to go like attack a home intruder is just be stark fucking naked with a gun.
That sounds like exactly something Tommy would do. Hi, Tommy.
You're not listening to this, but
we're gonna make you listen to this, Tommy.
He has Spotify now, so he can listen to it.
Tommy, you have to listen to this.
So Randy kind of had a big brain moment. He just kind of makes himself go limp, and just kind of was like, "I'm gonna make this guy think that I died," and it worked, because the guy's like, "Haha, I finally strangled somebody correctly and got off of him."
Meanwhile, Lisa's
in the street. Yeah. Randy kind of played dead a little bit, like a little too early, because he does remember seeing like the light starting. The stereotypical, like, go into the light kind of.
Oh, like he was about to pass out. Like he was about to, like,
yeah. So like the man's like, oh, he's dead. Goes, grabs the knife, rolls Randy over, and just starts stabbing him in the chest.
I thought you were gonna say in the nuts.
No, but that'd be a brutal thing to do. Like, you're already killing this person. You don't need to, like,
fuck your balls.
It just remind me of the fuck your chicken strips.
Pretty much. Yeah. So
Lisa sees a car coming while she's like butt naked, and she just takes the gamble of jumping in front of this moving car.
Please don't run me over.
And it was a man in the car, pulls over, and she was just like, someone is in the house. They attacked me. They're currently attacking my brother. You need to come help. So he pulls into the driveway. He sees the car. And at the same time he's pulling into the driveway, the killer's walking out of the house.
So he's done stabbing Randy.
So he only stabbed Randy twice in the chest.
Oh, well, that's good at least. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's
and then he's just like,
part of how he survived too.
I'm done here, and just starts casually walking out the front door. And the witness then asks the dude that came out of the house, and was like, "Hey, like,
were you attacking these children?
Is there a young boy that happens to be in the house? Like, is he hurt, thinking that maybe this was another neighbor that she got a hold of or something like that? And then he kind of just, like, sees the dude kind of, like, look like a deer in the headlights, kind of jump, and then just, like, bolts to his car, gets in, and drives away. And the witness is just like, oh,
he must be the bad guy. Like,
he's the one that attacked these people. And, you know, he goes into the house, he uses their phone, calls the police, calls, you know, an ambulance and all of that kind of stuff. They show up. Before leaving in the ambulance, Randy had, like, make sure to tell his sister, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay, sis. I'm okay. Because she was so worried. Because, like, you know, in her mind, she got off easy. I mean, like, she went through something, like, fucking traumatic. But he had the physical, like, wounds.
Yeah. Well, she also has physical wounds, but she probably felt like, you know, he didn't use that knife on me.
No, like, he got stabbed in the chest. Like, that's scary because, like, did he puncture a lung? Did he puncture his heart? You know?
Right.
One of the stab wounds actually got really close to puncturing his heart. It just grazed it enough to, like, scratch it. So it did damage the heart, but not enough to be, like... It wasn't as detrimental as, like, actually getting, like, pierced to the heart. It just, like,
it probably didn't actually, like, hit the heart so much as it was the, I think it's called, like, the myocardial sac or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a sac that sits around your heart.
Mm-hmm. It was just kind of, like, it just grazed it. Like, so,
that's
like,
very, very
like,
lucky.
a half a centimeter over, and he would have been, like, dead. So, the witness remembered the attacker's license plate. Good on them. I really hate this about myself. I probably would not be able to remember license plate. I don't even know my own license plate.
I was raised that if you ever find yourself in an uneasy situation like that, to try and remember as many details as possible. So, like, I've had situations where a car has gone, like, speeding and driving like a psychopath past me, and I've had to call and be like, I'm sorry I didn't get the license plate, but this is what the car looks like. It looks like this color person wearing this color clothing was driving, kind of stuff. Just trying to...
Yeah, give them as much detail so they can, like, look for it. Yeah.
My stepdad used to actually, like, test me on it because I wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the kind of stuff you're going to have to know. And I never ended up being a cop. And that's one of the things that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd be able to remember at least a couple letters. I think if you have the first three or the last three...
Either the first or the last three usually helps narrow it down.
Yeah, and then if you have the color and the type, then they're usually really easily able to...
assuming the plates aren't stolen. But
yeah, that's true. That's a problem around here. A lot of people swap out plates. Remember the license plate? They were able to find out who... It came back to Don Miller. And they were able to just go to his house... Because this is the 70s, they're not going to think, oh, they can track me through my license plate, you know? So it's really interesting because they're like, oh, we know who this guy is because we investigated him once before.
Oh.
He's the ex-fiance of Martha Sue Young.
Oh.
And, like, Lisa was able to positively identify him. Randy was able to positively identify him. Because they sat outside of his house, waited for him to show up. And when he pulled in, they arrested him. And he's like, I didn't do shit. Like, denied everything. And then that's when they were like, aw, man, he's connected to, like, all of these other women. He killed all of these other women. And he, like,
he just tried to kill these two kids.
Yeah. He was taken to trial, and he was convicted of rape and attempted murder of Lisa, and then attempted murder of Randy. He was sentenced to 30 to 50 years. A grand jury indicted him for the 4 murders of, like, the previous women. They only had found 2 bodies. However, Miller had confessed to the 4 Millers. So they only had 2 bodies. They don't know still where these other 2 bodies of these women are. I lied. I'm the biggest liar. I just read further into my notes. He led them to the other bodies.
Oh.
I was thinking of a different case where they couldn't find him. But so they had found 2 bodies beforehand.
Did he like negotiate like I'll lead you to the other ones for a lesser sentence kind of
I'm
thing? Because
assuming
that
that
does kind of
happened.
happen a lot.
With the fact that he only got charged, well, I think he only got charged for the 30 to 50 years for the attempted murder and the rape. And then at that point, more evidence came out because of those attacks and the fact that he had been investigated before. That's when they were like, we think you did these other 4 murders, or like for sure these 2 murders, and then you did something to these other 2 missing girls. He took a plea in doing so. So he did get a plea deal for leading the police. And then for those 2 murders, 4 murders, technically, he was only sentenced to 10 to 15 years added on to that.
Each?
30 to 50. Total.
Man, that must have been a hell of a
But
negotiation.
it's served concurrently.
So one after another or at the same time?
Same time.
So once he serves 10 years, he's off the
Murder charges. So he's
for those
currently
ones.
only serving for the attempted murder. He's able to be out of prison in 2031. And he will be 70.
And he'll still be downstate and thus not my problem, right? I mean, my name's not Martha, but...
No. So yeah, he's still serving. Honestly, he's probably gonna die in the jail system.
Well,
I feel like
he's only, what's that, like 8 years off?
I believe so.
Should be, yeah, 8 years from now would be 2031.
Yeah.
So, and he'll be 70 at that time.
He's not gonna really be able to. I mean, I'm not down. Yeah, when he'll be 70 in 2031.
I mean, they'll probably keep him on.
Oh, he's gonna be monitored for the rest of his life.
Yeah. So
they'll probably put him straight into an old folks home. Like, he's not. He's gonna go into a care
You know how many
center.
Marthas he's gonna find in that old folks home? I don't think that's a good idea.
No, but he's gonna be like monitored and everything like that. And plus, he's gonna be 70. He's gonna be frail.
I was gonna say we know some people that are 70 that are frail,
yeah. But I mean, I feel like prison hasn't been good to him. I think I saw a recent picture of him, and it's definitely not been good to him.
But typically, when it comes to cases against underage peoples, especially when it involves the molestation and
the fact that he wasn't
like
killed
that
in
of underage
prison,
people, yeah, the fact that he's still alive is a fucking miracle.
Right. So I'm gonna end this on like a nice, note and everything like that. Some good feel good stories because these 2 people did survive. They grew up. Lisa's been married for 17 years.
This is a crazy thing for you. It's 2 survivor
2
stories
survivor
in a row.
ones, but it's like a mix because people did die. He was a serial killer because he did technically kill.
People did die, yes, but the quote unquote mean
But
characters.
the fact that these were kids.
Yeah.
And
kids were tougher back then.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. But it's the fact that like Randy full-heartedly, they saved each other's lives at different points.
Yeah. Sibling love is sibling love.
Oh, yeah. So she's been married for 17 years and she drives a bus for disabled children.
Aww.
And like to and from school, and she loves her work. She doesn't let what happened to her control her life.
Good.
Randy became a police officer.
Hell yeah,
so
Randy.
He's a police officer in the Lansing state area, and he's doing great. He
Hell
loves
yeah,
it.
Randy.
He loves the fact of like how the people helped him. But he's come out and said he doesn't remember telling his sister that he's okay in the ambulance.
Well, I mean,
He's like, I don't remember
realistically, he was probably either in shock or doped the fuck up.
Oh yeah, he had to be in shock because not only did he get strangled, but he also got stabbed.
I think, young Randy laying on that stretcher probably looked up at his sister freaking out and was just like, oh man, I gotta make her feel better.
Yeah,
this is
like
not
he's
good.
like, fuck what I'm feeling. Like, are
Right.
you okay? Like, I'm fine. I'm fine. But it's just like, she doesn't let the fact she got raped bother her. She'd rather, I know she wants to help people that have been in that situation and all that kind of stuff. I love the fact that Randy became a police officer.
Oh yeah.
Because, he probably saw how the police, got him, they got him quick.
Oh yeah.
Because
it seemed like they beat him back to his own house.
They did. he didn't even make it home before they were like, oh, well, we know who this is. So it's like great on that one dude. Like they never named the dude that got out and like remembered the license plate number and was just like, hey, police, like this is the number. Here's the full number. Go get him. And then like it's the fact that they also did their due diligence in investigating
the additional murders because they were like, oh, well, we know this guy did this. We know he's violent because we already kind of looked at him, but they didn't have any of that physical evidence to like. So did they get him purely on confession, or did they end up finding evidence to tie him to it? I
feel like they probably had more evidence to connect him actually to it because of the fact that he attacked other people.
But they couldn't have had very much if he only got 10 years concurrent. I mean, if they had really solid evidence, he might have gotten life without parole.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Michigan had the death penalty at that time. I can't recall.
I don't recall. I don't think we did. Or it was like at the time where it was like, maybe it could be in that. But I think it's the fact that they already had him
dead to rights on one case
for 30 to 50 years. I think he got charged with like 30, like, let's see. Trying to think.
You're trying to math.
I think he got 50. If he's getting out in
2031, then he had to have gotten at least 50.
He got 50, and then they added the 10 years. So
that wouldn't have been concurrent.
Would that be? No.
Concurrent would be go at the same time, so he would serve that 10 years as he's serving the 30 to 50. I think.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
I know there's
how
two
that
different
works.
terms. One of them is they're served at the same time, and one is right after the other. Concurrent might be one right after the other.
I don't know.
Look, grammar is
either
not my strong suit, but if Grammarly wants to hit us up for a sponsorship,
let me do a quick math.
Bitch, I'm down. Grammarly, call me.
Grammarly.
Call me.
They're not going to sponsor us. I can't even say the name right.
We're not getting sponsors anyway. We don't even have 100 unique listeners. Although
31
our numbers are increasing.
Ooh, thank you.
We're up to almost 45 unique listeners. We do need to hit 50 to make stickers, and we will make Panda and Flamingo stickers. I will actually draw custom little cartoony guys for us.
Ooh, I think the trial probably took place not in 1978 for it to make sense, because if he's able to get out in 2031,
it would have had to have taken place in 81 with 50 years.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be 53
Which
years.
makes sense. I mean, they probably wanted to take their time on the trial kind of thing.
Oh, it probably took a long time just because they probably, you know what probably happened? He probably got sentenced right away for the attempted murder and everything like that, because that is an open shut case. They don't need evidence.
Yeah, they've got the
so
witnesses.
He was probably in jail already by the time that they were indicting him for the murders, because they probably put him in jail and then were like, hey, we're going to get you on these murders, and then took a plea deal to probably shorten his sentence.
Makes sense.
I think that's probably what happened. I'm going to assume that's what's going to happen. I couldn't really find a whole lot. But that was the Mid-Michigan killer. That's what he's kind of known as. They didn't really, because I mean,
no, you said
he's a serial killer, but he didn't kill like 15 people. But it's because it's the definition
more,
of a serial killer.
More than one, I think, is technically.
I think it's more than.
Maybe it's more than two. I don't know.
I think it's anything more than 2 over a span of time.
Okay. Well, that was the Mid-Michigan killer.
Yeah.
Rated on the doozy scale, although the doozy scale, the poll did not work on the last episode, so check out the question below and respond to the question. Let us know how this rates on the doozy scale, and let us know how much of a badass Lisa and Randy are.
Dude, I love them. Like,
for sticking it out. Like,
these people who can just fight back and just kind of like have that survival instinct of just like, hey, I can do this. I've been on a kind of a survival kick kind of thing, just to be like, all right, I like hearing about people that are overcoming this. I believe the show that I watched, I think it's on Discovery Plus.
I was gonna ask, so what was that show called?
Straight Up, I Survived a Serial Killer.
I Survived a Serial Killer.
And there's a lot of them. Like, it's all people who just kind of got away. So it's great. I love hearing about the people that like couldn't be bested by a monster.
Justifiable.
And it's the fact they're kids. I can't get over the fact they were kids.
Kids make some of the strongest survivors, though, the strongest fighters. And the fact that Randy thought to play dead was just probably life-saving. I mean, he's lucky he only got the 2 stabs.
Right, because he could have just been like, I'm gonna go a little overkill. But I feel like the dude was expecting...
If he knew that Lisa ran out the door, he was probably walking out to find Lisa.
He probably thought Lisa was the only one there. Because Randy was hiding, like, he was, like, basically by the woods, in the back, by a pond, and the dude was, like, in the front yard. So he's not gonna... He didn't know Randy was there. So he was probably
and he didn't expect Randy to interrupt, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like him stabbing Randy twice and then turning around and going outside might have been because maybe he knew that Lisa ran out the front door. You said she ran out the door.
Yeah, he probably heard. Mm-hmm.
So he probably went out like, well, better take care of this witness because the other one's dead on the floor,
Yeah.
even though he wasn't dead on the floor.
And then just to walk out and see a dude with her while she's naked and just be like, oh, shit.
Well, Randy and Lisa, wherever you are, even though you're probably not listening,
No.
you guys are badass and keep being badass. And thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We'll see you next week, Monday, where hopefully I'll actually get off my ass and do some fucking research.
If not, I have a few short ones. I know we've had some shorter episodes. It's just we've both been really busy.
We have. Life has been hectic and tattoos have to be traveled for. So
yes.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.